Tonight, Whyalla Council said to recall contaminated mulch amid the ongoing asbestos scare. And Port Lincoln passes go, the city set to take pride of place on the new Monopoly board.
This is Southern Cross News with Tim Hatfield.
Good evening. Also tonight, more demolition scheduled for the old Port Augusta power station site. But first this evening, Whyalla Council has begun removing mulch from residential properties following the asbestos scare last week. They've also confirmed a number of public places were mulched with the affected stockpile, with the council now beginning the process of removing it.
The front of the Alexander Motor Inn is a no-go zone, as well as a toilet block on the foreshore, a local roundabout on Cartledge Avenue, and parts of Adarang Gardens. Council investigations have revealed potentially contaminated mulch has found its way into these public spaces. The CEO says work will get underway tomorrow to remove the hazard.
The positive news is we've actually engaged the consultants and the contractors who will be removing the material. And they will be starting work first thing tomorrow morning.
12 residential properties have also been identified as containing contaminated mulch, with council in contact with landowners.
To advise them how to handle the mulch that's on site, so we're just asking them to keep it damp. 6
spot tests have been conducted on the landfill supply, with none showing traces of asbestos. However, council and the EPA are treating them as contaminated.
To prove that this stockpile is uncontaminated is extremely difficult. So working together with the EPA, we've made a decision that we are treating this stockpile as if it was contaminated and we'll be disposing of it.
Council is asking people who find suspected asbestos in their mulch to report it and be calm, saying it's low risk provided it isn't broken up.
Are non-friable and therefore as long as they are not drilled, sanded or burnt, they stay locked together in the sheet that they're in.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Port Augusta residents can expect loud noises this weekend as Flinders Power announced that its next phase of demolition begins on Saturday morning. The company will demolish a section of the northern power station known as Tower G and several other structures, allowing the company to further clear the site.
Over a year after the Alinta power station closed, Flinders Power is set to continue demolition work on the site.
So it's similar to the previous two charge filling operations. So it's the smaller tower that sits at the northern side of northern units 1 and 2. So it's a structure about 50 metres high, up on stilts that'll be charge filled.
The company says it will fell the structures at 8 a.m. on Saturday and this time will be mindful of wind speed.
Residents will hear some bangs as the explosions go off, and in terms of dust, we're unsure with every charge filling event exactly how much dust there will be. These structures have been washed out twice, once when we ceased operation and again leading up to charge felling.
Unlike the spectacular felling of the main stack, Mr Williams says this weekend's demolition work doesn't have a designated viewing area and is largely hidden. Flinders Power says spacing out the demolitions allows the company to clean up before the next. The company says that most of the materials used to construct the power station will be reused, with the steels and metals being sold and the concrete being used to fill up the underground areas ahead of further demolitions. Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
Motorists have named the Horrocks Highway and the Copper Coast Highway as two of the riskiest roads in South Australia. The roads link to popular tourist destinations within the Mid-North region.
The Risky Roads campaign sees the public highlighted major roads that need to be upgraded. The RAA has listed the Horrocks Highway between Roseworthy and Clare as the second most dangerous road in the state.
One of the roads that received the most number of nominations, and in fact the second number was the Horrocks Highway.
And the Copper Coast Highway came in at number 6, with the stretch between Port Wakefield and Kadina also in bad shape.
Based on the road condition, the undulating surface, a lot of people have pointed out the crumbling road edges and the sections of rough and loose surface, and of course the potholes.
The lack of overtaking lanes on both highways contributed to the poor ratings.
Highlights the fact that there needs to be a concerted effort to bring the road up to an acceptable standard, given this is also part of a popular tourist route up to the Cleo Valley.
Across 10 years, Horrocks Highway has seen some serious crashes, which could have been avoided if the road was in a better condition.
4 fatalities, 22 serious accidents requiring hospitalisation, and minor injury of 106. And property damage is around 185. So all in all, it highlights that the government need to spend money on this important connecting highway.
The risky roads are popular connectors to iconic South Australian destinations, which may affect tourism.
Overall, it has a dramatic impact on all forms of transport, from tourism to local commuters to heavy transport.
Crash and road traffic volume will be taken into account as the RAA is currently discussing the upgrades with authorities. Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
The Senate has backed a Greens motion calling on the federal government to use Whyalla steel in infrastructure projects. Senator Sarah Hanson-Young says with the government talking up local infrastructure spending, they need to use local products to support local jobs. John Hunt has the details.
The Greens and Labor have long called on the federal government to use more wireless steel in infrastructure projects, with state Labor already implementing such a plan. Both parties teamed up in the Senate to pass a motion, calling on the federal Liberal government to back similar measures. The Green-sponsored motion passed the Senate this week. It was moved after the federal budget earmarked billions of dollars in spending for road and rail projects over the next decade. Rail is a key component of the Whyalla Steelworks, along with structural steel and long products. Our local steelworks in the past 12 months have supplied rail for the Tarcoola rail line upgrade and will provide rail products for Adani's Carmichael coal mine in Queensland. There's also road upgrades, along with a revamp of the ASC's Osborne shipyards on the table, something the Whyalla Steelworks could play a role in. The Liberals voted against the motion, with the Greens slamming them for their inaction. Senator Hanson-Young says the people of Whyalla need to see their government backing their jobs, and supporting the motion would have been seen as a vote of confidence in Whyalla. The future of the Whyalla Steelworks will likely be known in the next few weeks, as the final bids are evaluated. Now the motion is purely symbolic and has no legal effect on the government's procurement policy, but it's hoped the cross-party support will pressure the federal government into ensuring the Whyalla Steelworks gets its fair share of the infrastructure spend.
John Hunt reporting there. Well, stay with us. Still to come in tonight's local news, a game changer. Port Lincoln set to take pride of place on the new Aussie Monopoly board. The details ahead. Welcome back. Port Augusta is among the suburbs in the state shamed for the highest number of so-called dole bludgers, or those regularly failing to attend job interviews and appointments. National figures show nearly 7,000 people in South Australia are not complying with their welfare agreements.
Named a dole bludger hotspot, Port Augusta has been recognised among other areas in the state with high numbers of those who don't attend job interviews and appointments for their welfare payments.
The whole point of a welfare payment, or the dole payment, it is supposed to tide you over and keep you in good shape and prepare you to get back into the workforce. It's not meant to be a permanent arrangement for you to fund a lifestyle.
Figures released by the government show Davern Park in Adelaide's north has the highest number in the state, followed by Murray Bridge, Port Augusta, Morphett Vale and Adelaide City. While the Minister for Human Services has come under fire for releasing shaming statistics, the local MP says it's not about those who receive welfare.
These figures that Alan Tudge, the Minister, has released are not about people who are on welfare. They're actually about people who are not meeting their obligations.
Uniting Care Wesley's Country SA CEO says homelessness, no access to transport and family crisis often stop people from meeting their welfare obligations.
There might be situations where people are genuinely not doing the right thing. Most times what we see are people that are desperate to do the right thing, but there are just a whole lot of things in their life that are making it very complicated and very difficult.
Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
Port Lincoln has been selected for the new Australian Monopoly board game unveiled in Sydney today. It'll join other iconic sites along with a few more Aussie twists on the iconic game.
Port Lincoln is literally on the board. The city has been selected as one of Australia's iconic tourism destinations to take pride of place on the famous game board.
I mean, this is really important for our area to be put on the map, just one of 22 locations. We're right up there, slightly behind Queensland and Sydney, so we're very pleased with the position on the board.
Mayor Green attended the unveiling of the new game in Sydney today, with the areas voted on by Australians as the country's most popular tourist locations.
It's all about our tourism, I think, and why people remember Port Lincoln. They come for our iconic tourist activities. So just to be recognised in Australia and now across the world is just a wonderful thing for us.
Port Lincoln was one of only 5 South Australian locations to be included, alongside Harndorf, the Flinders Ranges, the Barossa Valley and Kangaroo Island. The iconic shark cage diving chosen to represent the city.
Fantastic, playing Monopoly as a kid, and now to have one of our photos on the board, it's quite humbling.
And I'm just really pleased that our communities, our tourist operators got behind the voting and really supported Port Lincoln. So a proud moment for me and our community.
Along with the locations, the playing tokens have also been given an Aussie makeover. You can now play with a meat pie, a surfer, a kangaroo, a barbecue, a cricket bat or a kookaburra when the game hits stores next month. Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
Broken Hill City Council is under investigation from the New South Wales Ombudsman following recent usage of the city's civic centre. Council reportedly didn't have a full occupation certificate for use of the centre, but still went ahead with 2 major events.
A captain's call from the General Manager.
What I did was make a call on behalf of the community that I thought was the right one, very low risk.
Council had an occupation certificate for both the stage and auditorium areas of the centre, but full occupation had not been granted. Mr Ronkin was confident the application would be successful before the civic ball was held last month. But 30 minutes before the event started, the application was denied.
The team was certainly confident that we would get that interim occupancy, but by the time we got the advice that we weren't going to get it on that particular evening, it left us with very little opportunity other than to continue with the ball.
Council says some paperwork was not lodged and minor issues with the stairs were the 2 problems.
But essentially, as we understood at the time, the main issue was there was some sort of engineering certifications that were required to be provided by the builder. He was confident that he had provided all of that to the project managers and to the certifier.
Mr Ronkin says the following weekend's Nationals Party conference had to be held at the centre and could not be moved in such a short amount of time.
Council's had a track record over the last 6 to 8 months of moving venues and moving facilities to other venues or cancelling shows when it realised that it might not be able to do what it said it would do.
All of this information will form part of a response to the Ombudsman. Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Well, stay with us. When we return after the break, community forums to help struggling farmers make the most of their land in the wake of a weak start to the season. The details ahead. Welcome back. 2 community forums will be held on the Eyre Peninsula to help landowners and grain farmers with the dry conditions this season. The initiative is a response to the lack of rain farmers are experiencing and will focus on ways to maximise their returns.
Low rainfall and destructive mouse plagues have farmers on the Eyre Peninsula worried this could be the worst start to a season in decades.
Conditions are showing that this is one of the driest starts in recorded history. However, it is still in June and there is still potential for the year ahead if we do get sizable rain soon.
Grain producers are not yet calling it a disaster, but many have now pushed past the optimum time to sow. Farmers now looking towards long-range weather forecasts, hoping some predicted rain later this month will save the year.
Some soils do have moisture in them. Many, unfortunately, are still dry and we are seeing very patchy crop emergence, in some cases none. So sizable rains will certainly allow crops to emerge and still reach some yield potential for the season.
The outcry of local farmers has prompted the Grains Research and Development to schedule 2 forums this week. A panel of grain experts will discuss the seasonal outlook, yield prediction scenarios and other financial options for farmers.
We'll be looking at livestock options that are available, such as utilising carryover grain or purchasing grain to use livestock as a income source for the year ahead.
The dry conditions may have farmers worried, but experts are confident it can still turn around.
Certainly the window is not shut for seeding to still occur and for reasonable yields to exist for the season.
For more information about the forums, head to our Facebook page. Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
5 new scholarships have been offered to students at Port Pirie's St Mark's College. The opportunity will see 4 categories available for students to apply for, including a boarding scholarship.
High school students are now able to apply for a scholarship for next year.
We have a great army of scholarship holders at the moment. There's around 10 offered a year, and that builds up in the life of the school. So we've got a great group of young people who've received scholarships.
The scholarship allows students to further their studies with assistance from the school.
Support them, and we encourage them to take great advantage of the opportunity. So they do very well because of them.
A boarding scholarship for 1 year, along with $20,000, is offered at the school, giving the student and their parents the financial support they may need.
It's a wonderful opportunity with a financial incentive to support parents in accessing the terrific opportunities of the school.
The scholarship opens up new learning opportunities to students with a wider range of subjects to choose from, and students are encouraging their peers to get involved.
There were so many opportunities at St Mark's, I just really wanted to immerse myself in it.
I just think it's a really wonderful opportunity for our really dedicated and good students to access the opportunities in the college.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Broken Hill's Hospital Kiosk Auxiliary has donated $165,000 to the local health service. The money will go towards buying new equipment for the hospital, including vital sign monitors, 15 departmental drug fridges and an anaesthetic machine to be used in the operating theatre. The kiosk has donated over $1.2 million to the hospital over the past 7 years and is always welcoming new volunteers. Well, now's a good time to top up your car with many of the region's prices on their way down as we come out of the long weekend cycle. Here's Patrick with this week's Fuel Watch.
Things are looking very green when we head to the Bowser, so be sure to fill up when you get the chance. Starting with unleaded, and Port Pirie is getting cheaper and cheaper. The price almost an even $1.25. Whyalla is the most expensive in the Spencer Gulf, while Port Augusta holds steady. Port Lincoln has seen barely any movement, while here in Broken Hill we've seen no movement at all. Adelaide is on the downward trend. A 13-cent drop has them averaging $1.16. Moving into diesel, and Port Pirie has gone down by over a cent. Port Augusta is enjoying a period of low prices, and the same goes for Port Lincoln. Whyalla remains on $1.27 and Broken Hill is breaking even as well. Adelaide, another one to see no movement. Their price is still $1.23. So be sure to top off your tank when you get the chance. And remember that these prices are the regional averages and they do not reflect any one particular outlet. If you find a spot that does sell it for cheaper, be sure to let us know on our Facebook page. Tim.
Thanks, Pat. We'll stay with us after the break. A look at how your local weather is panning out for the next couple of days. Welcome back. Turning to the weather now, another fine and sunny day today, much the same that we've seen for the last couple of days. In fact, 19 today's top in Port Augusta and Whyalla, the same for Port Pirie. Port Lincoln today on 20, Broken Hill also sunny on 19. On the national satellite, cloud cover moving over the region is set to linger over a few days with some overcast conditions for the next couple of days. Out on the waters, the winds to 10 knots tomorrow, mainly to the north, the seas to a metre and southerly. Sunrise tomorrow morning, again at 22 minutes past 7. So a bit of cloud about the place for tomorrow. Port Augusta looking at a top of 19 with 18 on the way for Whyalla and in Port Pirie. Port Lincoln looking fine though with 20 the top and 19 and fine in Broken Hill. Then that cloud cover is set to linger into Friday with a cloudy 19 for Port Lincoln and possibly some showers on Saturday. Cleve with a cloudy 18 then a fine 17, 20 then 19 for Woodna on Friday and Saturday. Whyalla with a cloudy 18, then clearing to a sunny 19 as we roll into the weekend. Much the same for Port Augusta, 19 and 20. Kadina 18 degrees both days. In Port Pirie, we're looking at 19 both days as that cloud clears off to a sunny weekend. 16 for Clare, and in the Silver City a top of 18 for Friday, and the same into Saturday as well. And that is the Wednesday edition of Southern Cross News. Don't forget, you can stay up to date with us on Facebook and on Twitter. You can also drop us an email. We'll see you back here tomorrow night from 6:30. I'm Tim Hatfield from the Southern Cross News team. Have a good evening. Good night.